Sciences, dear students, dear guests, I'm greeting all of you. It's great pleasure to see all of you here. I'm so happy of being here with you again. As you mentioned, we discussed a very interesting topic with you last time. It was about Europe experience in the restoration and conservation of cultural heritage in Azerbaijan and Miras Yekoko practice. And I'm sure that today's our meeting will be remembered with interesting discussions and will also play a role in the study and promotion of Caspian Area heritage. And let me give some information about our today's meeting. Miras Public Association for the Study of Cultural Heritage today organized virtual PICASP Consortium meeting on a comparative review of petroglyphs in Caspian Area. This is our next meeting by Miras, and we are going to hold several more events to promote and explore the cultural heritage of Caspian Area. So today we have two main specialists which will tell us about petroglyphs which exist in Caspian region, and also we have speakers from Reserve Management Center of the State Tourism Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan. And before presenting our specialists and speakers, I would like to give turn Mrs. Oliva and Mrs. Oliva, if you have some.
Yeah, thank you. No, just welcome everybody. Thanks for the colleagues coming from PICASP and Eurotech projects. We are inviting also the colleagues from another European project about archaeology. So we are very happy to be in a joint meeting of the two projects today. Thank you, Miras, for doing so many exciting meetings.
Thank you, Mrs. Oliva. We always appreciate your opinion and suggestions. So just now, I would like to introduce to you our experts. PhD Associate Professor Malahat Farajova. She is member of Board of Directors of Sciences Committee, Prehistoric Rock Art Trails, Cultural Roads of the Council of Europe, an expert of the project of the Polyart Center of UNESCO, of Russian Academy of Sciences in Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography. She is Deputy Director of the Museum Center İçerişehir, and also she will tell us most important part of Caspian region about prehistorical art of Azerbaijan. And are you ready, Malahat Hanım?
I'm trying to share my.
Yeah.
You see the screen on the screen?
Yeah, it's okay.
You see my presentation or not?
Yes, Malahat Hanım. We see.
Yeah, yes, we see.
Okay, thank you. I would like to talk you about prehistoric art of Azerbaijan, and my presentation represent a rock art at the territory of Azerbaijan that were discovered during past years, and about studying of rich rock images of Azerbaijan. These are a vivid and peculiar phenomenon in the history of its material culture, the significance of which is difficult to overestimate. They are one of the main and most important types of archaeological sites. It is noteworthy that in the Caucasus, large areas of ancient rock images were first discovered in Azerbaijan. The discoverer and first researcher of them was the famous archaeologist of Azerbaijan, Ishak Jafarzadeh. Back in the late 30s of the last century near Baku city. Near Baku city in Kobustan, he discovered a large number of petroglyphs. New discoveries of rock images were marked in 60s, 70s, when Azerbaijani archaeologists on Abshar Highland of discovered rock images of Kobustan doubled by Jafar Gul Rustamov and Firuza Muradova. Thus, on the territory of Azerbaijan, a special type of monuments was found that reliably testify to household activities, rites, beliefs, in general, to the high material and spiritual culture of our ancestors. The result of many years of practice was the conclusion that in the order to better understand and study petroglyphs, it is first necessary to resolve or at least try to give answers to some questions in sequence on the technique of execution, the documentation, dating, stylistic, and semantic analysis of petroglyphs. If we consider the territory of Republic of Azerbaijan in the context of the fact that Central Asia is located in the east, the Black Sea region in the west, the Middle East in the south, Russia in the north, then the complex of monuments of rock art of our country is unique in the global perspective, covering a huge period of time beginning from about 14,000 years ago to the Middle Ages, and reliable information about the historical events of distant millennia and centuries. Petroglyphs are a kind of zone of millennial intensive contact between various ethno-cultural areas. In the process of studying of rock art of Azerbaijan, in the field of their cultural and historical purpose, questions repeatedly rose and were made attempts or tries to search for answers. The answers were collected as puzzles, and what is interesting, finding the answer to one question, others arose. What did the ancient artists want to pass on the other generation with their written on the stones? Why they left ancient messages here and not somewhere in other nearby territories? Who were the sailors of Kobustan and what experience new landscapes and seascapes they did, close or distant? Where have they been and why? When did they leave these messages? It should be taken into account that at the same time, at the territory of Azerbaijan, there were different cultures and settlements on the territory. The past and new archaeological discoveries confirms and show that the first settlements of Homo sapiens on the western coast of the Caspian Sea appeared approximately 30-35,000 years ago in the shelter of Taglar, Damjeli, Yatagyeri, and since then, more than 20,000 years had passed when the first rock images appeared in Kobustan. The reason why we can be sure of this, that the concentration of rock art on the ancient coast of the sea allow us to determine its maximum age. The first settlers came to Kobustan 14,000 years ago and were concentrated on the terraces only above sea level, 127 meters. In turn, terraces cannot be ancient than the settlement itself. And based on radiocarbon dating, C14 dating of this hunting at gathering territories, It is possible to estimate approximately when the terraces were part of the coastline before they rose in the future above water level. These data allow us to establish an approximate maximum shoreline age. The images that were engraved on the rocks on the ancient coastline gradually lose direct connection with the sea, and new rock art is cleared on new young rock surfaces that appeared from under the water. The process of changing the levels of the Caspian Sea can be traced on the map. The earliest motifs are presented individually: people, boats, aurochs, horses, deer. There is no doubt that some types of images and figures were associated with the specific height. Differences and similarities between figures and different heights show that the figures were clearly associated with specific rock surfaces along the coast, as on the rocks of the Kobustan, Apatheras of Montenberg, stone 29, 42, Mount Kichikdash, stone 49. All these stone blocks with petroglyphs are located towards the sea. These blocks are the walls of the shelters. The archaeological complex of Kobustan covers thousands of different time monuments, shelters, sites, settlements, ancient cemeteries, mounds, petroglyphs, and places of worship, holy places of worship, dating from the end of the Upper Paleolithic, early Mesolithic to the turn to the 18th, 19th centuries. Settlements, caves, and shelters are located on the upper terrace and lower terraces of the Büyükdaş, Küçükdaş, and Cingirdaş, Yazılıtepe mountains. Basically, all these monuments are multi-layered, containing the cultural remains of several eras. For various layers of some caves and shelters, more than 40 C14 days were obtained using the AMS dating method. As part of the cultural deposits of different periods of habitation, separate stones with petroglyphs were found in the site. In the cases where petroglyphs are associated with the archaeological layer, the determination of their age can be quite accurate. Rock images precede or simultaneously formate. An integrated approach is taken into account: styles, execution techniques, and results of C40 datings. Kobustan, first rock art and oldest rock art site. Kobustan is a geographical area, small geographical area located in the southeastern part of the Republic of Azerbaijan and adjacent to the western edge of the Caspian Sea. In 2007, was included to the UNESCO World Heritage List of Cultural Heritage as the cultural landscape of rock art. Kobustan were mountains with flat peaks and rocky blocks forming caves as a unique landscape. More than 6,000 petroglyphs dating from the end of the Upper Paleolithic to the Middle Ages have been discovered and recorded here. In 1966, the territory zone of Büyükdaş, Küçükdaş, and Cingirdaş Yazılıtepe mountains, covering an area of more than 4,500 hectares, was declared as a state reserve. These places served for thousands of years for ancient settlers as dwellings and places of worship, where ritual ceremonies, magical rites, worship of spirits and ancestors and mountains took place. Until now, the tradition of worship has survived in the vicinity of Kobustan. Archaeological complex of Kobustan At present, more than, as I mentioned before, 6,000 rock artifacts and 40 barrows, about 20 shelters, ancient settlements, and burial sites were registered, and about 105,000 objects of material culture registered and safe in Kobustan, in funds of Kobustan Reserve. All this complex consists of the cultural landscape of archaeological complex of Kobustan. In 2007, the following cultural values of this complex were included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Over 6,000 petroglyphs, caves, shelters, ancient settlements, and burial sites, places of worship, sanctuaries, and many caves and shelters of different periods are evidences of consistent use of these places for 14,000 years. Rock art, first of them. On the rocks of Kobustan, the aurochs is mainly represented, the Bos primigenius boy, tours. As a result of study in some images of aurochs, it was possible to fix the marks depicted on the body as traces of magical actions. Thus, an ancient hunter tried to achieve a successful hunt. Images of aurochs associated with the hunting cult date back to a later period, and the ancient hunter usually depicted them as sacrificial animals. The cult significance of these animals is confirmed by found figures from cultural levels from different settlements in Azerbaijan. Several figures of aurochs were also discovered from the lower layers of Kura Arak sculpture on one of the ancient settlements in Haitepe. An interesting image is on the stone 65 you see on the Apatheras of Montenberg. This image refers to the first stage of the Mesolithic era. With the help of the program 3D Studio Max, it was possible to restore and reconstruct the composition on the stone. The image on the panel turned into a leaf action. The male figure drives the bull away, and the woman depicted in the profile ran away, maybe with the scream, from it, as if distracting from the man's figure. On the rocks of Kobustan, images of hunters made a vivid artistic manner of performance represent different images, especially among them are figures of the ancient hunters with bow and arrows. In the Mesolithic, due to the melting and retreat of the glacier to the north, new lands were exposed and hunting tribes began to move north, carried away by mammoths living after the glacier. Baltica, in turn, with swampy banks, closed the movement of animals and people to the northeast. Part of Paleolithic tribes remained in place. More southerly hunters moved through the former border on the glacier, passing further north or settling along the pass. They were hunters armed with bow and arrows. The advance of the Mesolithic and Neolithic era was made on foot, and when they reached the sea shores, they moved in large boats. Thus, it can be assumed that autochthonous settlers of the west coast of the Caspian Sea should also move towards the north. It is likely that the depicted boats with a crew of more than 50 people 7,800 years ago could also be used as vehicles to the north. In this regard, for reconstruction of cultural and historical processes and spiritual and magical representation hunter-gatherer in Azerbaijan, and in particular Kobustan, petroglyphs on the Apatheras of Büyüktaş and Küçüktaş Mountain are particular value. I would like to show you these pictures of boats and the subject of special attention is the composition made on stone 68 of the Apatheras of Montenberg. This image refers to the first stage of the Mesolithic period. As a result of stylistic analysis and the use of 3D technologies and programs, it's possible to reconstruct various methods of hunting wild animals in different historical eras. Compositions restored using 3D modeling allow us to restore the rituals, customs, life of the ancient settlers of Kobustan. The Petroglyphs of Kobustan gave us a unique opportunity to see how wild aurochs were hunted. If you pay attention at this image, you see the stone 68, and on this stone it is impossible during the daylight to see images. And also when we trace this stone, also these images and figures mixed, and we tried to reconstruct it by the 3D modeling. And here they opened for us the picture of the hunting or ritual hunting of the aurochs. This new plot suggested the inclusion of young hunters in sacred secrets of the tribe in the magical ritual of hunters on the stone 68.
Malahat Hanım, excuse me. I think we turn off microphone. Afifi Goni, please turn your microphone.
Do you see my presentation and hear me?
Yes, we see your presentation, but we can't hear you.
Okay. On stone 68, hunters with bow and arrows surrounded the aurochs and as it were, chased them towards a crack on the stone to the cliff. And if you pay attention at this, the drawing is made in a dynamic and realistic manner. On the breakaway part of the stone, an image of a hunter is also recorded, part of the figure of peaches captured on the main part of the stone of stone 68, along with the rest of the figures. Here, real hunters. The fact of depicting the entire hunting scene on the stone block is already a fact of magical attitude to such hunting. It seems that the hunters arrived at this place on a boat, which is represented at a distance. If you pay attention, this is a boat. And I will try to show this. You see?
Yes.
After performing the mysterious ritual of successful hunting, hunters with bows and arrows returned to the boat. Ethnographic data from some tribes of the world show that if during a hunting dance, coppice rovers missed, did not get into a painted beast, then the real hunt was cancelled, postponed until more favorable times. If the sorcery ceremony was successful, then this strengthened the faith of hunters in their forces. It was written by the Anisimov. A wall composition made on stone 68, 3D modeling allows us to restore the rituals, customs, and life of ancient settlers. On one of the oldest images is the figures of the bulls and women made at the ground level. Dot recesses knocked out on the body of the aurochs around some images of bulls and along the line on the stone 49 indicates that these images constitute a single semantic composition. It should be noted that the point recesses and the animal figures marked with these recesses and fixed only on the right side of the line. This is a 3D model of the stone 49, and if you see at the Ceyranlar site of Kiçiktaş mountain. And in different regions of Siberia and Russia, and it considered that the images of and figures of bulls, one can observe a sign of their belonging to the deity and give, as an example, a similar designation of bulls as marked by God from ancient Greek text. The images of aurochs presented on the rocks of Kaya near the village of Kızıl Mazalik in Tuva and Karachat are interpreted as marked bulls. It seems that the figures of bulls on stone 49 in the shelter of Ceyranlar and 8 on the stone 8 in the shelter of Gaya Arası of Mount Kiçiktaş reflect another aspect of the cult of the aurochs. It is noteworthy that the images of the marked aurochs are concentrated on the right side of the stone 49 on the Ceyranlar shelter, separated by a line coming from the top of the cliff where the cup recess, cup hollows is located. This is the line that divides the stone into two parts. Oh, oops. Okay. Accordingly, on the left side on the line on the rock, images having a magical semantic connection with the right side of the rock are attracted to the attention and dates back by the same period. They can be defined by technical, stylistic, and semantic features. This is the image of the bull made in the same technique and style identical with the image of the bull with circular dot recesses made in front of the head. Attention is drawn to the image of the circle with engraved point inside under the body of an aurochs figure. This sign resembles the image of a circle on the body of a bull on the stone 34 of the Apatheras of Mount Beyktaş. Apparently here the artist, with the help of magic, expressed a request to increase the number of livestock. A similar image of a bull with the just a minute, bull with the 5 points engraved under the body is recorded on the stone 8 in the shelter Gaya Arası. It should be noted that the magical motifs are recorded only in 3 sites of Mount Kiçiktaş: Gaya Arası, Ceyranlar, on Apatheras of Mount Beyktaş at Ovçular. This is Ovçular Cave, and here you can see new images that discovered during our expeditions. The stone discovered in Ovchular site with the image of two running goats in some historical period split and collapsed apparently due to natural cataclysm. If this stone is turned over, then a plot opens in which goats chased to a cliff run to a fenced ambush. In this case, 5-point recesses under the body of goat may mean the number of animals mined. It is undeniable that the above plots speak of the magic of the prey of the beast. By motivation, style, and technique, all these images have similarities that allow them to be attributed to the same time. During the Middle Ages, caravanserais, places of worship sanctuaries, medieval cemeteries, and burials with various tombstones with Arabic and Farsi inscriptions, with various images of stones appeared on the territory of Kobustan. Schematic images of goats, camel caravans, horsemen armed with spears, inscriptions, and images with religious and Islamic themes appear. Residents of Kobustan, settlers of Kobustan mountain, migrate to the lowland territories, but in the mountain, the gishlaks for seasonal use, the settlements, gishlaks for seasonal use. At this time, the territory of Azerbaijan was densely populated. During this period, states such as Manna and Media, Atropatene, Albania, already existed. Such major events as the invasion of Roman Empire, the Arab Caliphate, Irais Khanates, all the listed events somehow affected the rock images of Kobustan. In the Middle Ages, the picturesque nature peeling of the rocks of Kobustan, figuring groves in Dubendi, were one of the closest places to medieval cities and villages on the coast of the Caspian Sea, and therefore the Khans, Beks, and court nobility used this territory as places of recreation and hunting for goats on agers and wild horses. All these entertainments was picturesque and vividly reflected on the rock images of Kobustan, Absheron Peninsula, Yamigaya, Kelbacher, and miniatures of Azerbaijan. The ancient and early medieval period in Azerbaijan was identified in Gatep, Garajamirli, in ancient Gabala, Gala, Tepe, Shamkir, and Aksu. A special category of petroglyphs in rock images of Azerbaijan are housing plans. It is common knowledge that settlement appeared in places with nearby pastures and territories convenient for agriculture. On stone 35, it is possible to present the planning composition of the settlement. Paths, hedges, round plant dwellings brought to the dwellings, which to some extent reveal the common contours and types of planning of residential formations in ancient times. It seems that the planning structure of a small settlement is depicted here. The stone shows a schematic plan of a small settlement with fences denoting economic yards and separating settlers' buildings. Images, plans of dwellings of the early Iron Age recorded on the Apatheras of Mount Beigdash on stone 29. Figure, if you see this figure and these red figures, represent it, represent a hedge and two cells, lines passing connecting between cells divide the structure into parts. Available in the petroglyph ovals and triangles possibly show places for storing hay or cattle chase. This layout finds some resemblance to the settlement plan, which was discovered by archaeologists on top of Montenberg. They find an amazing analogy with the housing plans of remote regions of the camel site in the Negev. No less interesting is the image on the stone one of the Mount Jingirda, which has been studied and supplemented with details. I'm sorry. With details. Okay. With details. The construction plan on stone has a resemblance to the houses of the early and late Middle Ages. Architecture of the village of Kala. The planning compositions of settlements and dwellings are quite frequent in rock art. They are presented in the collection of rock art Sarmashai in Uzbekistan, in the Kuramin Mountains, in the Tashkent region. Among the largest multi-figure compositions in the rock art of Kızılköy in Siberia, gods are recorded in the immediate vicinity of inside oval and round structures. According to researchers by Akladnikov, the location of goats and horses next to the round planar images suggest that cattle or traps for wild animals are shown on the rocks. As an example, they cite the remains of round fences laid out of large boulders, which are found between moraine beds next to the petroglyphs in Yelangash in Siberia. The central part of the fences is usually crossed by chains of stones along the perimeter of which there are structures of boulders in several rows. Similar fences are depicted on the rocks of Yelangash and have identical patricians. Apparently, these fences were used to keep animals during the bad weather and at night. This type of fence yards are also found on the petroglyphs of Altai, Tuva, and Transbaikalia. It should be noted that on the petroglyphs of Tuva, fences are located directly with images of dwellings. It should know dwellings. Akladnikov considers these fences as the boundary of the territory of ancient possession of the genus and as symbols of abundance and fertility. Dating of rock art of Kobustan. The dating of petroglyphs of Azerbaijan is well known, conditional, preliminary. Usually images of women in profile and wild oryx are considered as relatively the earliest groups of images. Images of extinct animals can be chronological landmarks in case of possibility to reconstruct paleoecology. The research results allow us to consider the chronology of rock images of Azerbaijan in a slightly different light. One of the latest C14 dating has shown that one of the oldest sites in Kobustan dates back by the 13,610 BP. Shelters, caves, and burials mounds in Kobustan. There we have a numbers of these monuments at the Kobustan, Big Kobustan territory. The oldest shelter caves dating from the end of the Upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic are concentrated on the Apatheras of Büyükdaş and Küçükdaş mountain. These are Gayarasi, Firuz, Anazaga, and Kenize. Cultural layers of the Upper Paleolithic, the Mesolithic, Neolithic, and Chalcolithic periods were found here. The discoveries, tools of stones, bone, and obsidian, as well as the remains of extinct animals, extinct flora, fauna, are invaluable material for the reconstruction of the geographical environment of this ancient era. Objects of particular interest are 11 skeletons found in the Mesolithic layer at the Firuz site. 2 of them belong to a woman, 1 child, and the rest of them are male skeletons. A large number of stone tools were found here: percussion tools, nucleuses, and burins, knife plates, trapezoids, flint burins, arrowheads, denticulate microblades, notch-side scrapets, and adzes. On the lower terraces of the Büyüktaş, Küçüktaş, and Cingirdaş mountains, such settlements of the Bronze Age as Daire I, Daire II, and many burials and mounds were registered. In these settlements and burials, skeletons and bones of extinct animals, several stones with petroglyphs, archaeological material of the Bronze Age, and several headstones of the anthropomorphic type were discovered. Sanctuaries. On the one of the most striking highlands of Kobustan are mountains with flat peaks at the foot of which rocky blocks are spread. Located close to each other, they formed caves that for thousands of years served for ancient settlers as dwellings and cult sanctuaries, where ritual ceremonies, magical rites, worship of spirits of ancestors and mountains took place. Until now, the tradition of worship has survived in the vicinity of Kobustan. According to the custom of local residents, a wedding procession on Mount Küçüktaş, Mount Büyüktaş, this one, on Mount Büyüktaş is considered a mandatory ceremony. Locals perform the national dance Yalli opposite the rocks with petroglyphs on Mount Büyüktaş, which depicts figures of dancing people lined up and resembling the dance Yalli, national dance Yalli. Among the rocks of Kobustan, the ruins of sanctuaries were also discovered. Not far from them, on the walls of stone blocks, rock images are recorded. The ensemble of sanctuaries in the vicinity of Kobustan organically fits into the panorama of mountains with their flat peaks. In the sanctuary, I would like to mention about sanctuary Gara Atli. It is the sanctuary located in a rock. Nearby, there is a rock with a natural dimple. Pilgrims come here who have made their future fate, niyat, in order to gain confidence in the upcoming events important to man. To fulfill these wishes, modern pilgrims usually tie mottled patches to branches of shrubs and cult frame trees, dagdagan. It is Caucasian Celtic Causia. Or build small houses from small stones at the sanctuary of Garatli. Until now, many sanctuaries, as Sufi Noruz Baba, Sufi Hamid, Huri Gizlari, Sari Baba, Garatli, are visited by pilgrims. The presence of many caves and shelters of different periods are evidences of the consistent use of these places for 14,000 years. Kobustan is a place where the tradition of rock art has been preserved from ancient time. from Upper Paleolithic era to Middle Ages. The existence of such monuments as a 15th century caravanserai and Garatli sanctuary with the same petroglyphs on the walls as in Kobustan testify a long cultural continuity. All these facts give us the reason to assume that Kobustan, where thousands of rocks images are concentrated, has preserved ancient religious traditions to the present. Absheron Peninsula. The Absheron Peninsula in the late Bronze Age and Iron Ages represented a modern landscape, a semi-desert with elevation that really reach 300–400 meters in height. The southwestern part of Absheron currently has a more dissected relief, which is associated with various lithological composition of rocks, clay, sand, sandstone, and limestone of tertiary age. The Absheron Peninsula is washed on three sides by the Caspian Sea, and from the west it is protected by powerful mountain ranges of the Caucasus Range. The peculiar subtropical climate of Absheron forms under the influence of a number of factors. Absheron is a mountainous area. The folded mountains structure of the surface is clearly visible in the western part of peninsula. In the eastern part of the mountain is cut off by marine abrasion and covered by its deposits. A plain relief has been created here. This entire area is covered with ancient Caspian and modern sediments. The extreme eastern strip of this lowland, directly adjacent to the coast of Caspian Sea, is characterized by the presence of sand dunes extending almost continuously along the seashore to the Absheron Peninsula inclusive. Archaeological complex of Absheron Peninsula. One of the first information about ancient rock images of Absheron appeared in 1963. They were discovered by archaeologist Gardashkhan Aslanov as a result of archaeological excavations in Shuvelani and Mardakan. The images of various animals and hunting scenes found on the walls built by stone blocks. They were executed in real and schematic styles. During the excavation, separate stones with petroglyphs were also discovered. As a result of research, 100 stone blocks with drawings were discovered in Aghdashdüzü and Bendüzü area. More than 200 images were recorded. The petroglyphs of Absheron, which are found on megalithic stones and rocks of Absheron, and the entire complex monument date back to the end of Bronze Age. These are petroglyphs I would like to show you 3D reconstruction of petroglyphs. This is sacrifice scene. You see the goat and people in adoration pose. This is another very interesting image. You see two lions and an image of man with the wood in the hands. And he tries to protect himself, defend himself. Yamigaya, location and geographic environment. Yamigaya is the legendary name of one of the highest peaks of the small Caucasus, Mount Kapijik, at an altitude of 3,906 meters above the sea level, and is located in the southwestern part of Azerbaijan in Nakhchivan, in the Ordobat region. The top of the mountain collapsed in the tertiary period and consist of metamorphosed tuffs. Due to the natural geological process, large rock blocks scattered along the southern and southwestern slopes were springs between numerous mountains, valleys. Over the past millennia, their surface polished to mirror close under the influence of landslides and glaciers. On these rocks, ancient artists left thousands of petroglyphs. Archaeological complex of Yamigaya for the first time appeared information, news about rock images Yamigaya appeared in 1992. The rocks depict people, man figures, goats, tours, aurochs, deers. As a result of studies, more than 1,500 petroglyphs were registered. Basically, semi-nomadic cult magical themes prevail here. Discovered settlements, burial grounds, fragments of ceramic vessels in the Yamigaya region gave a reason to date petroglyphs in the chronological range from the end of 4 millennia BC to the beginning of 1st millennium BC inclusive. The zone of around Yamigaya, starting from the middle stage of early Bronze Age, has been a place of summer cattle breeding. Now Yamigaya region was announced as a reserve and protects by the government. And I would like to talk about last one, region of Azerbaijan, Kelbacher region. In 1967, rock drawings were discovered in the Kelbacher region of Azerbaijan. It is Kelbacher volcanic highlands at the foot of the Deledah mountain zone by the Gujarat Mammadzadeh. The most significant number of drawings was recorded in the Alagöl basin at an altitude about 3,000 meters above the sea level. Most of them are located on high mountain pastures in the zone of alpine meadows in places of accumulation of black basalt blocks. The main part of Kelbacher consists of volcanic highlands. This area is composed of quaternary lavas. The accumulation of last rock images is recorded mainly on the coasts of high mountain lakes, some of which are occupied by craters of extinct volcanoes. The coastal area of these lakes are rich in deposits of obsidian, flint, shale, soft porous, tuff, and granite. The presence of these rocks was the main reason for the settlement of these places since ancient time. In this region, there are more than 40,000 drawings, petroglyphs, dating from the early Bronze Age. In connection with the dating of rock images, the discovered settlement is also important in the zone of rock images of remains of round-plated masonry, dating back to the initial stage of Bronze Age, 3,000 millennium BC. In 1976, the remains of the settlement were discovered in this high mountain zone. On the left bank of the Terter River, the remains of a stone structure in the form of a circle with a diameter of more than 20 meters were discovered. The inner walls of this complex structure were laid with river stones and large blocks. The thickness of these walls reaches 2 meters. The floor and walls of this structure were coated with clay mixed with hay. Around this structure, the remains of several round plain masonry with a diameter of no more than 4 meters were also discovered. This type of round plan structures in the Middle Bronze Age are characteristic of the territory of South Caucasus and the countries of Middle East. This type of structure, but much smaller than in Kelbacher, were used as dwellings. Apparently, the discovered remains of structure of the coast of Terter River were the dwellings of some powerful tribe in early Bronze Age. Here, fragments of simple and closely vessels with characteristic hemispherical handles, stone tools, weapons were also discovered. Tools were represented by stone grainers, knife-shaped plates, and moss teeth. Weapon objects were represented by small arrowheads made of obsidian. The manufacture of earthenware and development of pottery production in the highlands no doubt contributed to the development of agriculture and animal husbandry here. During this period, with the advent of dairy production, clay oil mills and grades first appeared. In these places, the unique rock images were concentrated, reflecting the life of agricultural and livestock tribes of early Bronze Age. The presence of a cultural layer, rock images, and the appearance of permanent fortified settlements is associated with the intensive development of high mountain zones with rich pastures. The drawings of Kelbacher Highlands depict hunting scenes where in most of them you can find drawings of hunters with bows and arrows chasing mountain goats. Here you can also find agricultural scenes, images of bulls harnessed by a plow, harvesting and processing of cereals, and anthropomorphic image of skis size on the shoulder. The drawings of leopards devouring mountain goats attract attention. The realism of images of leopards, deer, and wolves are impressive. A separate group represents cart images. The history of the appearance of carts in Azerbaijan begins with the era of the late Neolithic, Chalcolithic. They were a necessary means of movement in the economic life of the tribes of the Bronze and the early Iron Age. This is evidenced by many models of clay wheels found in Azerbaijan from different settlements of Bronze Age. Images of cart in hard-to-reach and high mountain places of Kelbacher bear and amazing resemblance to images of carts of Yamigaya. Numerous images of Kelbacher go back to the oldest examples of magnificent creation of Paleolithic artists of Kobustan and remain a tradition on the pottery of Hocalı Gedabek culture and on artistic bronze for a long time. These are my presentation. I finished, but I can continue about management, information presentation and documenting of the site, but I think I have a limit on my...
Thank you, Malahat. Thank you for a lot for your amazing presentation. You speak very clearly and with animation. I think that our participants, especially our foreign partners, experts, and the listeners obtained a lot of valuable information from your presentation. Generally, Kobustan, Kelbacher, Yamigaya, Absheron rock art, most important part of our art history. But it's not only the cultural heritage of Azerbaijan, but also the valuable cultural heritage of the Caspian area and the whole the world. So, so if you won't take your presentation, Malahat Hanım, so I want to ask audience if they have any question to Malahat Hanım because of your amazing presentation, Malahat Hanım. You have maybe definitely you will get many questions.
Yes, please. Yes. Although the very interesting presentation and the quality of materials that the speaker showed us, I was particularly impressed and interested as it concerns information about events that today are organized in connection to the cultural heritage. As I saw marriages, events, and other things that wanted to give a new life to ancient monuments and cultural heritage. Because I underline that our project is connected to the creation of entrepreneurship and initiative according to the cultural heritage. So in this case, there is many activities like guides, organizations of events, organization of tours, and so on. Because I think that all the cultural heritage about spoke colleague was not well known around the world, and many initiatives have to be organized to promote this cultural heritage. So this is very interesting and very useful for our project. Thank you.
Thank you for you.
Thank you, Massimo, for your addition. Okay.
I thank for the approach, which was extremely scientific, and that's really nice for us. And also, the speaker was speaking about the second part about management, which could be another meeting about the management and the valorization of this splendid culture. So could be something that she can present in one of next meetings, for instance.
Thank you. Thank you. With pleasure, I will share my knowledge and my experience with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Malahat Hanım. And we will ask for you for next hours meetings, if you have possibility to join us also next meetings like presenters. And I want to add about conservation of that rocks, because this is also a big problem, and I think maybe next time we have possibility to speak about this, because I know many rocks have problems, and many natural and anthropological problems they have. And one
affected, yes.
Yes, one time I worked with professors from Catania University, Professor Enrico Giliberto, and he had some offers like a laboratory for Caspian Area for conservation and restoration of not only rocks, also stone, because Absheron stone we we need to
Nihat, ty nie скажи о чи yalnızdaki obhili bağlara. O necə
problem? Okay. And we have possibility to talk about restoration and conservation of also rocks and stones in Azerbaijan for next meetings. And I will ask also Professor Enrico Giliberto, and maybe he also connect with us, and we will speak about this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I continue?
Yes.
Okay, just I would like to introduce to you our next expert. He is PhD in art history, Nizami Mammadzadeh. He is a designer in other design company. He will speak about relationship of content and form of petroglyphs of Azerbaijan and the Central Asian region. Please, Nizami.
Thank you very much. I salute everyone, and I appreciate everyone. Appreciate you that you invited me into this cool conference. Thank you very much, and let's start.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Okay. The object of study is the petroglyphs of Azerbaijan and South Siberia, as exemplified at the Kobustan and Kelbacher petroglyph sites. It's generally known as the most ancient petroglyphs were found in caves, but there are a huge number of images in the open air and they are on the rocks. In this work, I use the method of classification by morphological characteristics into and I classified it into anthropomorphical, zoomorphical, and astral or magical images. The images were also divided into single images and the images that are in compositions, mixed compositions. Now, thanks to the capabilities of the computer science, computer graphics, I'll show it in my presentation in a couple of minutes. Thanks to the capabilities of computer graphics, an attempt was made to reconstruct the methods of construction image and identify stylistic accents and features of the petroglyphs. How did they made them? I'll show it using computer graphics. The comparative analysis was based on similar techniques of stylistic expression, the presence of absence or the presence or absence of the details. In addition, it becomes possible to more accurately interpret the content of images using archaeological materials for each region in certain historical periods. Okay, let's start from the beginning. I have actually tons of information about this, but I'll take some parts of my work. And first of all, I want to show you what kind of work did I do. For example, this is the archaeological, more than 500 archaeological sites that's situated in the territory of Altai Mountains. As you know, Altai Mountains are situated on Russian, modern Russian, Mongolia, some parts in China and in Kazakhstan. And there are more than 500 places that I find some keys, yeah. And this is one part of my work, and that's a classifications of petroglyphs. Just a moment, let them be here. classifications of the Kobustan petroglyphs that have been made by here we see the male petroglyphs, classification by the periods, the female petroglyphs, then the zoomorphical, anthropomorphical, zoomorphical, and so on. And I'll talk particularly a little bit about all of them. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Man in ancient times, most of his time was engaged in necessary affairs aimed at survival, of course, because there were very harsh conditions of living. Trying to travel to the distant part, we understand that the person in those days didn't have a certain equipment or machines or something that helped them, objects that helped them to make his life easier. It's clear that the person has never been a lonely creature. He lived in some groups. According to the physiological parameters, he alone would never have survived in any environment. So a person has always lived in a society, as we know, and the society grows up by the periods of his of human being. The instinct of self-preservation dictates its own. And in the ancient times, places for petroglyphs were not chosen by chance. Of course, these places were considered sacred, and all kinds of religions and cult were carried out there. Perhaps there was other evidence of the existence of some religious and cult traditions located of the kind, but with the framework of this study, only the petroglyphs dates set in considered, of course, because images that can be interpreted as religious or cultural may indicate the existence of religious and cult activities as itself in a given area at the degree of development and duration. We're talking about ancient times, and we're talking about people and the harsh periods that they live. And the number of religious images in Kobustan is not so big. Actually, it's too small, and mainly belong to the most ancient period. At the later time, based on the already well-developed religious and mythological system, religious images actually we don't know, are not found. Okay, let's talk about the periodization. Here I talk about the comparison method by content, periodization of petroglyphs by type, classification of single images on petroglyphs, and classifications, plot compositions, and analysis of their content. Okay, let's start from the comparison method by content. And let's move on a little bit further. Men appeared on the territory of Azerbaijan in the Paleolithic era and lived mainly on the banks of rivers, in forests, in caves, under the canopy of rocks and mountain groups. Well, Malahat Khanum clearly showed all of those things, and she actually, her demonstration actually told almost everything that I want to say, but there is not in my presentation. It's something like starting of my presentation, and I continued her presentation. It's I hadn't known about this, and it's very interesting that it happens. For a scientific examination of the subject of research, first of all, it's necessary to define the factual material according to the types of data according on the manifestations of aesthetic components. We know that we have some petroglyphs, and everybody who look at those petroglyphs, let me show them. Actually, the most of them were shown by Malahat, but when we look at the petroglyphs, we thought that they have some aesthetics components, but actually it should not be noted that the aesthetics idea of people change over time and differ from modern ones, of course. Examining the petroglyphs, we are confidences that our distance, that our past ancestors did not seek the express of beauty of nature, which given the destructive influence of modern man was rather more beautiful than now, with a large abundance of flora and fauna. Of course, we know that today, in those times, it seems that in those times, the nature, flora and fauna were much more richer, much more beautiful than now. But we don't see anything on our petroglyphs. We don't see the tryings of those people to depict all of those beautiful things in petroglyphs. Okay, it's clear. Numerous images neither from a composition point of view nor in content cannot be called works of art aimed at conveying aesthetics content. It turns out that the most of the rock paintings in antiquity cannot be called work of art in our modern understanding of art. It's my own opinion, and that's most likely people in ancient times didn't think about it. But for some reason, he wastes his own time. He wastes his own time on the paintings of those and the pictures of those petroglyphs, or those things, and they waste some really big part of their lives to do this. And it's very strange. And as we understand, the time was really very valuable for him. I mean, for those people, and he would not do it for fun. It was not a way of self-expression as the modern artists, the modern painters, artists do nowadays. Though, of course, though drawing, we must take into account the fact that the picture of the world and the perception of man in ancient times was very different from ours. Okay, let's start from the most ancient, here the situation of Kobustan. I told you that Malahat has already explained all of them. Shown, and let's start from zoomorphical types of petroglyphs, because the zoomorphical petroglyphs are the zoomorphical motifs appears before anthropomorphical ones, and the earliest layer of images was Upper Paleolithic figures, which is clearly confirmed by the data of archaeological excavations. All of those stuff has already been told by Malahat a couple of minutes ago. I don't want to repeat all of them, and want to show you some details that that was in my article. A large part of the image of the Kobustan belonged to the Mesolithic or the beginning of the Neolithic, and dates back to the 7 millennium before Christ. The original reason for the display of living being was the original perception of them as a source of power. Neolithic rock art as a whole carrier of the traditions of animalistic Paleolithic art. We know about this Paleolithic art. I don't want to talk about this because I think that's the people who exist here know about the Paleolithic art. Okay, And we can compare with the other side. We compare with Altai region, compared with Kelbacher. And what I want to say, the most ancient layer of Kelbacher petroglyphs belongs to the Neolithic era. You know, what's the difference? Okay, comparing the realistic silhouettes particle image of a bull head in the Petroglyphs Kelbacher, it's in Russian Altai, with the image of the northern side stone number 29, that's in front of you. Yeah, Beuktash Mountain, the Apatheras, we observe some very similar features in the drawing of the horns. Look at those horns. Special attention was paid to the horns, and the ancient artists tried to depict as closely as possible to the prototype, to the real image, real bull head, horns. Yeah, the position of the horns determined their forwardness, and this is not actually strange, because bulls are very strong animals, and behavior of which is sometimes extremely aggressive, especially during the rooting season in early August. We know about this. The bull's formidable weapon is its massive and sharp horns, which is manipulated well during the fight. And the horn depicted in Kelbacher is much shorter, and relation to the head is in comparison with the Kobustans. As you see, yeah, here in this picture. But by overlaying the images, as you see here, I tried to overlay those two images up to one. By overlaying these images, we see very little difference in the shape of the horns. In both cases, the artists tried to show the sharpness of the horns and convey in the most realistic manner. As in Kobustan, we observe images of bull horns give a silhouette of the image itself, as you see here. Okay, let's take a look to the elements that I wrote here. We use Kobustan bulls as an example. We can presumably trace the process of building an image. Yeah. You see element 1, element 2, element 3, and so on. And let's talk a little about this. Here, see the element 1, the first element is the upper part of the body, which determines the length of the animal, and thus is the main line, and the most likely was drawn first. Here I try to show an example how they perhaps how they draw those images. Is an example. We can presumably trace the process of building an image, dividing into 4 elements in a certain sequence. This is the first element that I talk about. The second element, this is here the second element. Yeah, you see, the low line is parallel to the upper one, which together, the first element visually completes the lower border of the body. The lines of the animal gives there something like a cavity and roundness to the picture. And the third element here, the head and the muzzle of a bull, and for the last element is a tail is shown vertically, and most likely was depicted last one. As you see here, it's very interesting when we compare to those two images here. For example, as you see, I took a skeleton of a real bull. Actually, it's a ancient bull, yeah, and put here two images, overlap those two images. Actually, here is three images. Here, the red line, red bull, is a bull from Beşiktaş, and this bull is from another bull from Beşiktaş. You see, it's very interesting to look. How did they try to depict these images? How did we create these images? It should be noted that the composition is static and the horizontal lines are relatively parallel to each other, as you see here. The end of the first element and the end of the third element ends with homes that not close from a visual spirit, as you see here. Okay, let's move on to the next image. Here, the bull's pictures depicting the bull's petroglyphs in Kobustan archaeological site. 7, 6, 5, and 4 millenniums BC. Here is some sites, some parts of it's Cingirdak, Beşiktaş, the upper terrace, the lower terrace, Beşiktaş, and so on. And here we can see the image, the chart of female and male and both pictures. In some times we can take a look to this chart. Okay, let me talk about one of the most interesting images. Okay, sorry, I forgot about the bull image. Let's finish my point of view. According to the materials of petroglyphs, it can be assumed that the Altai petroglyphs, petroglyphs that is situated in Altai region in modern Russia, the bull is mainly represented as an object of hunting, a draft animal and a mystical creature with the features of fertility. This is a differentiation between bulls, wild bulls, and domesticated ones. Petroglyphs with images of bulls and cows found on the territory of Kobustan are the oldest zoomorphical images from the 7th to the approximately 4th millennium BC. These animals acted as an object of hunting and as a domesticated livestock. The scenes of hunting a wild bull presented in small numbers, suggest that the authors of the images were hunters who led the semi-nomadic lifestyle on the region of Kobustan in approximately 7 to 4 millennium BC. Let's summarize summarizing the above that we talk about. It's possible to identify a certain pattern of stylistic methods of construction images in all attemptions to match the drawing as closely as possible with the real anatomy of the animal was the priority number one, in my opinion. Actually, I'll say it was something like a rule. In most cases, bulls were depicted with sagging bellies, as you see here, which can presumably be interpreted as an attention to display wealth. Yeah. Okay, there is some reason why people live in such distant corners of the world depict animal, most of them wild, with the maximum accuracy that they can afford due to artistic competence. Analyze, of course, we are talking about the artistic competence because they are, in my opinion, and in opinions of most archaeologists, there were not found any schools, any high school or any schools that can teach the techniques of painting, for example. And of course, we are talking about a very extremely low level of capability of the painters, artists, let's say like this. Okay, analyzing the drawings of all those analysis of all those drawings, the animals of the Stone Age, we can trace that the ancient artists paid attention to the maximum realism, to maximum. They tried to there's pictures to be very close to the real prototypes. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. And let's talk about something a little bit about anthropomorphical images. They're actually the tones of anthropomorphical images that belongs to Stone Age, to the Bronze Age, to the Iron Age, and so on, even Middle Ages. But I want to talk about one of them. Before talking about the anthropomorphical images, you need to try to trace the moment when the person turned his gaze to himself and understand the reason of this. The original reason of the display of animals was the original perception of them as of animals as the food source. On the example of the earliest anthropomorphical images, we cannot say about the attempt to depict a person with a given him identical features. You know what I want to say? Yeah, rather it's an attempt to portray a person as a special, as a species, give him features that distinguish him from animals, divided from animals, not only in terms of anatomical indicators, but of course, we're talking about this, and also in terms of his role in environment, its role in those lifestyles, environment of nature environments. I'm talking about, I mean, nature environments. The most striking distinguishing factors is the woman's ability to attract men, of course, and terribly triggered the mechanism of mating games, let's say something like this, as a result of which offspring were born. Of course, in the animal world, we see the same picture, we see the same things happens, but unlike animals, man does it consciously, yeah, or must do it, of course. This fact became a primary reason at the dawn of the birth of portraits, and female images occupy this niche as another confirmation of the sexual component of the art of anthropomorphical images. And so, if we discard the fact of a sexual component of early images of people, in women or men, that doesn't matter, then we would witness the attempt of individualization with a more detailed drawings. But actually, we don't see nothing that could be the evidence of this in our petroglyphs, in our images. Yeah, where is the personalization? Nothing here we can see. No personalization, no faces, no eyes, and so on. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm trying to explain the reason why they didn't do this. We discard the sexual component, and in the initial state of the Stone Age, the early stage of the tribal structure gradually began to form on a basis of a group marriage. That's one of the reasons of matriarchy, and we'll talk about this a little bit. In a group marriage, it was not known who is the father, who was the father, but it was known who his mother was, and therefore the origin can only be established from the mother side, from the maternal side, and therefore only the female line is been recognized in those times, and that's why we call it matriarchy period. And of course, in those periods, the female features not only we can see female features. We can notice female features not only on the petroglyphs, but in some other kind of art. Okay, let's take a look deeply and take a look in details of to this picture, yeah, to this drawing. And it is a drawing of a woman on a stone, on a second stone, the lower trace of Mount Buktash in Kobustan, dating back to the 8th millennium BC. It's one of the earliest, one of the ancient pictures, petroglyphs in Azerbaijan, in Kobustan at all, presented in full face, as you see, with a thin waist, wide chest, and large calves. See here. Filled with diagonal lines. Yeah, you see. Filled with diagonal lines, with no arms, and 2 diagonal lines that run in the chest region from the bottom. See here. From left to right. According to Jafarzadeh, it's a man who actually was a person who did one of the biggest things to Azerbaijan science, and he actually depicted all of those and categorized those petroglyphs in Kobustan. He was one of the first, and he was told about by was taught by the previous lecturer. Okay. According to Jafarzadeh, the 2 lines passing through the anthropomorphical characters are nothing more than a bow. I don't know why they said about the bow, and the lines filling the calves to the legs are tattoos. I don't think so, actually, and I want to talk about this. A very interesting statue of a woman was found in settlement. Let me show you if I found it, actually, because some of my yeah, you see here. Yeah, here is the original original photo. Here's another photo. We notice a lot of female characters. Here, see, we notice a lot of female characters from all over the world, and we're talking about the statue of a woman. This statue is from Ukraine. It's a Tripolian type. Dating back to the 3rd millennium BC, but it was assumed that the diagonal lines are tattoos and had the real prototype in antiquity, in the Mesolithic era on the territory of Kobustan. The technology of tattooing should have been at the very high level if we are talking about, if we think that it's a tattoo, if we're talking about that the body of the woman was covered by tattoo. And of course, the technology of tattooing should be in very high level. But I don't think so. Attention is drawn to the fact that imitation is not a full-fledged tattoo. And of course, we are talking about its later time. Heads in era of a stone as a rule were not depicted at all, as you see in this picture, because it's not mentioned giving details. It seems that the lines are symbolic marking of the image, indicating a certain belonging to a character, to a partial social group, and this applies to the image, assuming that the lines are not attempt to represent a part of costume, when the question arises about absence of any detail about the wrist. It's actually a question, especially if we bear in mind that the image is a silhouette nature and it's very laconic in its content, as you see. The second offering, let's say, are zigzags. Zigzags are the most ancient images, are very close to the Christmas tree, something like this, Christmas tree ornament, I mean. There are a huge number of variations of the images of zigzags that were found from all over the world in different periods, and as simple as zigzag is lines in a row, like Christmas tree, that usually drawn by kids. Horizontally oriented zigzags in a 4 lines are found not only on the Petroglifs in Kobustan, but also in the ceramics of the Chalcolithic layers of settlements on the eastern shores of the lake Urmia and Yanıktepe. If I find, I'll show you in the future, but it's not our topic. Okay. What I want to say, let's analyze those pictures more detail. We thought that there were some offerings, what kind of things could be depicted on the body. And illustration shows the analysis of the petroglyphs, as you see in here. First of all, you should decide on the form by comparing it with a real female feature. See, so say I took a head because she has no head, the head is absent. Female figure presented in full face and the profile. For the era of the stone, for the Stone Age, such a presentation of female feature is typical, namely in a profile and without a head. It's exemplified by numerous female images from around the world, dividing the image along the horizontal line, as you see here, dividing line in the top. See? Yeah. When the upper part of the woman body is presented in profile and in profile, and the lower part of a body is actually not profile. It's actually let's say it's from profile, but it's from the front view, as here. As you see, it's very interesting. The upper part is in profile, as you see here. The lower part is in front. It's presented from the front. It's actually very strange. Okay. Okay, let's see. See, 1, 2, 3, ABC. Yeah, let me show you. In the upper part, the neck, A. You see here, A. Yeah. Chest, B, and the wrist, C. You see, B, C, which proportionally coincide at the intersection points. You see, ABC. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. The silhouette image of the female figure were drawn in a realistic manner, observing the anatomical parameters of the woman. Here we see 1, 2. All those things are actually being made very good, I think, in my opinion. And it was drawn in a realistic manner, observing the anatomical parameters of the woman. Note that the upper part of the woman's body is a certain degree from a vertical, you see? It's a 90-degree twist from this one. And it's a very interesting fact. There are a lot of I don't want to show to tell you everything about the full analysis of this project, because it will take a long time, and I think that we can go further and summarize those topic about the anthropomorphical features. Okay, in most cases, the Mesolithic era, jewelry, and the belt gave the appearance some kind of. Hello. Hello.
Continue, Nizami, continue.
Some kind of aesthetic feature, and not only the relation to the woman appearance, the attribute themselves probably had nothing to do with the aesthetic idea of ancient people, and represented a kind of identification mark to or indicate that the person belonged to the particular group of people or some kind of community, which in a sense does not include the factor of involvement in a religious or cultural key. You know what I want to say? One thing is clear: the belt was integral part of a culture, of a costume. The interesting drawing of a woman from 8 million BC that we looking at presented a full face with a thin waist, wide chest, and large calves filled with diagonal lines with no arms, and 2 diagonal lines that run the chest region from top to bottom, from left to right. And in my opinion, here we use some belts. In my opinion, those lines are the details of a costume that were in that woman in that times. Okay, let's move on to the Bronze Age, and then I'll finish my presentation. One of the biggest part of my research is Bronze Age period, because we have tons of artifacts that were found in Azerbaijan and in Siberia, and with the Bronze Age in Western Siberia, as well as the Altai-Sayan Mountains or Altai-Sayan region, bronze items appears in the first or third of the second millennium BC. As in Neolithic time, third millennium, you can read here. In Azerbaijan, it appears in early Bronze Age. In the Bronze Age is in the southern Siberia, is associated with the Afanasyev culture, as you know. The flourishing of the petroglyphs art coincided with the emergence of the Okanov culture. It's very close to the Afanasyev culture, which seems more likely to be I would say very tied to the Afanasyev culture, but which arose to the basis of a local Neolithic culture, local Neolithic aspect. The dominant motifs of the cave art or rock art of the Bronze Age are due to the deserve to display objective reality, to display a real reality, let's say that, to produce a kind of archetypical images of the picture of the world in the in those time people understanding. Okay. Predators, one of my favorite topics. Predators actually will start from dogs, because of some archaeological date, the dogs was the dog, the wolf actually was domesticated in the Mesolithic era. It's approximately 7th millennium before BC. The appearance of the dog in Bronze Age is explained by a change of type of livestock farming. It's very important moment. Due to the dominant role of small horned livestock, cattle breeding assumed a semi-nomadic character. Semi-nomadic, and of course, we can say that the semi-nomadic lifestyle appears at that times. This form of cattle breeding involving grazing far from the place of residence and staying there for a large amount of time. Man needed a faithful companion, faithful friend, and of course, to gather and to make his lifestyle much more easier. And that, of course, the dog was start to being his best friend. Okay, here we're talking about, of course, we are talking about illustrations. We're talking about petroglyphs. I don't want to dive into the archaeological and mythical mythology of the dog and archaeology of the dog and so on. We're talking about the petroglyphs, and let's move on. The illustration clearly demonstrate the similarities when comparing the petroglyphs of Kelbacher and Kobustan. Here we see Kobustan, here we see the Kelbacher, here we see Kobustan. And here we see a real the picture of a real wolf. When comparing the petroglyphs with the drawings of a contours of a wolf, yes, as you see here or here, as can be seen in the illustration, the ratio of body length to height is observed when drawing a central line. You see, we draw central line here. I marked it in blue with a blue line, and comparing, you can notice a similar dynamics. You see, similar dynamics of a construction of a picture. Like we see some pieces from what they made the picture. Let's say from what they built the picture. Yeah, I mean the petroglyph. The back of the torso, it's oval zone Z1, yeah. It is raised relatively to the front, as you see here. It's a little bit raised, it's a little bit higher, and from the zone 2. Okay, as you see, we can compare and we see the relativeness between those two pictures, and those two petroglyphs. This reveals the pose characteristics of both petroglyphs, and we can divide it into all petroglyphs, dark petroglyphs. We can divide it into some parts: the shepherd dogs, the hound dog, the image of images of course, a shepherd dog, the images of hound dogs, and the images of mystical dogs, and of course the single images that they are not being categorized at all. Okay, let's go to the next. Analyze the horse. It's actually the second friend of man. On the petroglyphs, on the petroglyphs of Kobustan, the image of a horse would be found since the 5th millennium BC. On the petroglyphs of Kelbacher, I mean, it's in Altai, the horse was found in the late Bronze Age and in the early Scythian time. The horse image can be divided into several categories. First category is a single images of horses. The third category, as we see here, are the herds. It's a herd. And this category, horses, in most cases, are depicted in the herd and without a participation of anthropomorphic or other zoomorphical images. In Kobustan, herds of horses are found in Neolithic era in the 5th millennium before Christ on the Beyktash mountain. The Apatheras of the stone, 46. The illustration of the horse, as you see, I tried to I tried to divide it into some parts, and I tried to analyze it with a real. I tried to analyze the horse that from the picture. It is my photo. With the real anatomically correct horse prototype. And this analyze in this illustration that was made by mine demonstrates the artistic analysis of the composition of the northern part of stone 45 of this picture. The composition is a herd of 4 large and the 3 smaller images of horses directed in one direction. Yeah, in one direction along the horizontal, located in different levels along the horizontal line. The images are made in the same stylistic manner, are dated to the 4th millennium BC, the analysis of the construction of the host body based on the drawing of a real host is, as you say, is carried out. The body of animal is conditionally divided into zones: the think zone, the neck zone, the chest zone. Here we see the front part of the body, and so on. Here I have, in my book, I have actually very detailed analysis of all those parts, of all those zones, and it will be good if you read my book in future. Thank you. And let's go to the here we see it's a comparison between two hosts. The host from Kelbacher here in Altai. I'm sorry. Yeah. Tsagan-Sala. It's in region that's next to Altai region in Mongolia, in Tuva. I'm sorry, in Tuva. And this host from Kobustan, Azerbaijan, and I compare it the scales of the host with the real prototype, anatomically correct prototype of a host. Here you see also from Tsagan-Sala and in Azerbaijan. Yeah, and let's move on to the next part of my presentation. Let's start from the deer, one of my favorite animal. Okay, just a moment. I'll find my text.
Nizami Bey, can you give conclusion?
Okay, as you wish. You see the analysis of a deer, analysis of other types of animals. I divide it into some types. I find some points. Yeah, okay. And conclusion. Okay. Let's summing up. It should be noted that according to the materials of the Petroglifs of Kobustan, it was revealed that at the earlier time, single horse hunting of marals or deer, we call marals, or deer, using spears and other type of weapon, prevailed, and already at the late time, foot hunting with bows. I'll show it. You can notice it on the Petroglyphs of Kobustan. The presence of hunters on foot is most likely due to the special way of hunting forest animals that habit in forests. In some scenes, mountain goats are also hunted by special. Most likely, they hunted in forest with mountains area where foot hunting with bows was most expanded in horse hunting was inherent in lowland places or in lowlands where the hunter could pursue prey using hounds, using dogs. And that's why we can notice a lot of scenes of hunting in Kobustan area, because they are actually lowlands and they hunt using hounds and horses. Okay, let me tell you about. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your attention. I have a lot of information for you, but I have some time limit. That's why I can't explain or show you, can't share all of my knowledge with you, because I had really big, really a lot of information about my work. I got to show you all of my, I got to share you all of my knowledge, all of my experience with you, but we have some time limit. That's why I think that we can finish in this moment. Thank you for your attention. And I can stop demonstration. Yeah, thank you very much.
It was very interesting presentation. Because of time limit, we can't listen to you to the end, but I'm sure that you have many interesting information to say us. And we also that you had you show the difference of the depiction technique, composition, and etc. And thank you really for your amazing presentation. And as I remember, you stayed in Altai for a few years, your research, yeah? I think this period has been the most memorable and unforgettable part of your research and your life. Have you any interesting researching memories?
Of course, yeah, of course, I have tons of interesting moments of my being there, because when I came to Altai for the first time, I hadn't known what to do, didn't know what to do, but in some time, I understand that this place is very sacred for everyone that can come to this place. And all those things that happened to me is I can call something like if you are in enchanted forest, as you're Alice in Wonderland, you know. The most interesting moments that I lived in Altai that happened to me was meeting with shamans. Really, real shamans. They talk to me. I can't say you what did they tell me, because it's a little bit personal information. But all knowledge that I took from Altai, took from those beautiful and mesmerizing people who live in Altai, those Altaic tribes, I used in my books, and I'm continuing using, because I gathered a lot of information I gathered information for maybe for 10 books, maybe more. And that's why Altai region is, and of course, I was also in Mongolia, it's next to Altai, and in Tuva, in Khakassia, all those regions. I've traveled to all those regions. I lived in forests in camp for 12 or 13 days non-stop. I mean, that's why it was very interesting experience when you talk to nature, when you talk to, you don't know, are you talking to nature, or are you talking with ghosts, or with gods? I don't know. And it's you can't divide it into two parts: yourself and nature. That's why there are a lot of things that can be learned by being in Altai.
So interesting. I also so strongly want to say shamans.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to give question, if you have any question to Nizami, maybe you have addition or comment.
Yes, only one short comment. With Nizami, we found another kind of entrepreneurial initiative, the tattoo shop. Tattoo shop is very interesting, right? If I understand, because the tattoo are concerning the cultural heritage and new design, new opportunities, new creative one. The inspiration of the tradition could be a very interesting business.
Interesting. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Thank you. And Mrs. Oliva, have you any addition?
Yeah, what is very interesting is also the kind of information he has given about also paleo-environmental situation. So it's a sort of insight view of the past through the animals and through the paintings, through the incisions. So that's really interesting to compare the nature today and the environment in prehistoric time. That's really fantastic. It's also something which can be exploited to show to the people, to find a way to show to the people how was and it is the environment in this context, splendid context. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Olivia. And okay, now I Fariz müəllim burada sesi bağlasanız.
Kim danışmak?
Baxın da orada görün kimdir.
Neyse, ses anlaşılmadı. Buyur.
Okay, now I want to move on the second part of our meeting. In this section, we will talk about the existing reserves in Azerbaijan and their activities. I would like to begin from the Reserve Management Center of the State Tourism Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Fakhri Mammadzadeh. He will talk about reserves, preserving, protection, and promotion.
Eşidirəm ki.
Reglamentə riayət edək.
In my speech, I will separate my speech to two parts. In first part, I will speak about Reserve Management Center. In my second part, I will show you reserve, which I am in now. First of all, let's speak about Reserve Management Center. I have made some notes as not to be beyond the topic. The main tasks of Reserve Management Center: to protect the material, cultural, and intangible historical heritage located in the territories of reserves, to use them effectively for tourism purpose, to apply effective administrative and financial management in the territory of reserves, to develop the tourism potential by identifying tourist routes in the reserves areas, to increase public honors by supporting research on the protection and promotion of historical and cultural heritage. As you know, the Reserve Management Center is under jurisdiction of State Tourism Agency. In the beginning, there were 7 reserves in our Reserve Management Center, but several months ago, it was added one more. I want to check the reserves which was includes to Reserve Management Centers and their destination. First of all is Ateş Temple State Historical Architectural Reserve. I am here now, and in my second speech, I will show you Ateş. The second one is Yanardağ State Historical Cultural and Natural Reserve, Baskal State Historical Cultural Reserve, Xınalık State Historical Architectural and Ethnographic Reserve, Lahıç State Historical Cultural Reserve, then Yukarıbaş National Historical Architectural Reserve. I want to note that Karvansaray Hotel Complex in Shaki included to this reserve, Kish Historical Architectural Reserve, and the last one, which is new in Reserve Management Center, is Beşparmak. This is a mountain and the State Historical, Cultural, and Natural Reserve. Also, we have some enterprises which was included to Reserve Management Center. This is museum and art places. I want to note them too. This is Shaki History and Ethnography Museum, Shaki Museum of Applied Arts, Shaki State Art Gallery, Lahich History and Ethnography Museum, Pascal House of Culture, Kınalık Village House of Culture. The main objectives of the center as follows: protection of historical and cultural heritage in reserves, historical and cultural study of monuments, ensuring immunity, ensuring tourism-oriented use of reserves, management of reserves at the expense of their own income, and promotion of diversification of financial sources, ensuring sustainable management in reserves. In other ways, the activities of center are follows: to participate in the implementation of unified state policy in reserves, to organize planning, control, and coordination of activities in reserves, to study the monuments in the reserves for scientific, historical, and cultural point of view, to organize purposeful use of reserves. This is main objectives of Reserves Management Center. As I mentioned before, Reserve Management Center includes 8 reserves, and in my second speech, I will make a little travel to you to our Ateşşah Temple. In Ateşşah Temple, there is a place from where we can see all over the all places of reserve. Now I will show you the beginning of our travel. Just a minute. I'm sorry, it's so windy in Baku now. That is why maybe some disconnections. Our reserves begin from this part. It's a parking. After parking, you can see administrative building. In administrative building, we begin from souvenir shops. There are 7 souvenir shops where we try to work with our local artists and all the products from local artists. Then we have a museum here. After the museum, we have a restaurant here, police security, and a big area of various events. You can see in this video, you can see various events area. Behind administrative building, we have boiler house, electrical house, and other communication. This is I am now in the second place where our reserves is begin. Ateşşah is a. I'm sorry, I will show you our reserves from the inside. And after this part, the tourists come to the inside to the reserve. You see the Ateşşah Temple. This temple is the last version of temple which was built in 713 year. It includes we have historical information, statues, and pictures about Ateşşah history. Everything depends. In this video, you see central altar, and we have only one room in second stage, named by Balakhane. that is all from Ateşkah Temple and about Reserve Management Center to take more time at this period. Şuran Hanım, you are hearing me?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's all from me.
Okay, okay, Fakhri. It was so interesting.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, it was very windy here.
Yeah, yes, yes.
It was very hard to show everything.
Yes, we understand you. Thank you for your live presentation. It was very interesting. Just we felt ourselves right in Ateşkah. Thank you for your detailed information. And if you have any question, yeah.
Yes, many thanks for this presentation, because the speaker remember me when I visited this temple, this center some years ago. It was very interesting. I have a question about inside the center, inside this building, there are many shops and other activities. My question is, these activities are privately managed and the center rent the location, or there is what is the economic and formal relationship between the center and the business activity managed inside?
Okay, I understand the question. The process is like that. We have agreement with owners, but we don't allow them to. We want them to sell only products of local artists, and by this way we help local artists to show their products to the tourists. We control the selling process, and but these places belongs to owners. We just only control for artists.
So the location belongs to owners, belong to private? No, the location is yours.
The location is ours. We give a rent. Ours. Yes, we give rent, right. But we have some notes regarding the artists, and we want them to sell only local artists' products.
Understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Just now, Sakina Mammadzadeh, Musayeva, excuse me, Sakina Musayeva, she is a guide of Yanardağ. At the same time, we show Yanardağ. It's so windy.
Can you hear me? Okay. I know my camera is on, but I don't know you see me or not. You can see me now?
Yeah, yes. We see you and hear you.
Okay. And firstly, I greet each of you. I'm Sakina. I am guide in the Yanardağ Cultural and Historical and Natural Reserve. Today I will give you information about Yanardağ and history and our reserves. I'm sorry about there's very sunny and weather sunny and
windy.
Very windy weather. If you can hear me, I can change my place. Okay. Now you can see our Yanardağ. Firstly, Yanardağ means is burning mountain. Yanar is burning, mountain is Dağ is meaning Yanardağ. And you can see Yanardağ has burning for 4,000 years. And it's never burned out, always, all the years. It doesn't matter, snowing or raining, Yanardağ has burning always, and it's never turn off. You can see now is the Yanardağ, and Yanardağ is the, I want to give information about our reserves. Our reserves found in 2007, but 2019 our reserve, we have some the construction process, and now you can see our reserves administration buildings, our modern museum, and children entertainment centers. We have we have 2 museums in our reserves, and I'm going to get there. We have 2 museums. Some of them is complex. We have a modern museum too, and I also give information about the Yanardağ ingredients. Yanardağ ingredient is methane gas, natural methane gas, sulfur, and 16% oxygen. After the earthquakes 4,000 years, Yanardağ 3 ingredients, natural methane gas, sulfur, and 16% oxygen mixed up, and Yanardağ has burning, and it's never turn off. Now we can go this house, just children's entertainment place. We can go now our Cromlechs. Cromlechs means it's circular monument like a Stonehenge. You can see now all this stone, green miles, gaval stone, some ahurs and stone basins, which use, for example, this one is used throughout raining and snowing water from the houses. In the ancient times, it's made some stone. This one is stone basin used for made some wines. And we have inscriptions, and we have stones, gravestones. We have a and I want to show you some. Okay, my you can see me?
Yes.
It's a gaval stone. Yes. Okay. Gaval stone have a own acoustic. You can see, just not a simple stone, but this is a gaval stone. They have some acoustics, and the ancient times trial masters use gaval stone, and they play the song. In our country, we have a specialist who sung in the gaval stone, and gaval stone is only the Azerbaijan area. I have to say, maybe someone knows about that. In 2012, in our country's beginning ceremony of the Eurovision, our specialists play some songs on the gaval stone, and most of the gaval stone in Kobustan, but 4 of them found in this village. I mean the Mammadzadeh village, and Mammadzadeh village have a more than 650 years. Now we go our modern museum. If you have a questions, Yanardağ or Cromlechs, do you have a questions when I go?
Okay, go and show your modern museum. Okay.
The burning mountain is exciting. It's so strange, fantastic.
Okay, yeah. We go inside our modern museum. Modern museum created 2019. I have to show you something. It's my flame shadows. You can see under the red light, this is a 3D installation. And if you stand there, you can see your flame shadows. Now this is my flame shadows. All our tourists admire this technology. On the wall, you can see movements or yours. And I have to see. We give information our tourists to Zoroastrianism and fire worshipping. For example, this one is the bullet mace according to Zoroastrianism religion, who deserves the prize degree, this one gives to him. And this is stored in Azerbaijan National Museum. Now you can see the modern installment made by wooden, and this is made by famous Azerbaijan artist Hüseyin Hakverdiyev. This one's about the ancient people dance around the fire. You can see red ones shows the fire, and the people who hands on each shoulders and dance around the fire. And we have a 4 monitor there. It's dark and it's not clear shows, but we have a show ourselves our yanardaghs and mud volcanoes. You can see this is a model of the mud volcanoes, and this one's on the monitors, mud volcanoes. There have been more 350 mud volcanoes in Azerbaijan, and highest mud volcanoes in Azerbaijan too, in the world. And also most of the mud volcanoes in Azerbaijan is very helpful for skin diseases. This is the Ateşgah. It's a model of Ateşgah. And you can see some pot and jugs from the Şamaxı district, all of them from the early Middle Age. Some ones is cooked, some ones is raw ones. You can see it's a light color, this one's and this one's. And this one is a raw, and people just use raw ones, just use some dry products, but cooked ones, it's useful for everything, liquid or dry products. And this one's ancient city plan of the Çarşıhal. And we also give information about our tourists, Zoroastrianism and fire worshipping in Azerbaijan. And we also give information, I can show you. This one's is photo from our national and traditional holiday from Novruz. In Novruz holiday, we jump on the fire 7 times, and we believe this is a gift us to luck for another year. Because in our tradition, we believe years begin with coming of spring. And you can see another picture from Yanardagh. Okay, my information is done. All of I can say. If you have any questions, I can answer you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your live presentation. It's I have to say it's shame for me. I have never been in Yanardagh, but I will come very soon. Okay. There are interesting facts about Zoroastrianism in Yanardagh and Ateşgah reserves. If you have any information about this, you can give or Sekine, do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, if you want, you can give information, little information about Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism. Okay, yeah. Zoroastrianism is an ancient, I start to be. Zoroastrianism is an ancient one of the religion, and in Zoroastrianism, people believe fire like as a god. But most of the people, Zoroastrianism is just believes a god, believes fire like as a god. But actually, Zoroastrianism believes 4 elements, all of them believes like as a god, because they believes all nature and four elements. One of them is the fire, and Zoroastrianism. Who believes Zoroastrianism? These people believe also light, wind, all the world on the darkness. And also, I want to say something. Most of the people think Zoroastrianism and fire worshipping is the same thing, but it's different. Like as I said, in one of the say it's fire worshipping is more oldest one, is more oldest religion, but Zoroastrianism after that, after the fire worshipping is created some people named Zoroaster, and Zoroastrianism just religious, like as I said, they believe all elements and all nature, and believe that sun's light too, light wins over the darkness. But fire worshipping, it's just believing the fire like as a god, like as a magnificent, amazing thing. Or what can I say? But what do you want?
Okay.
Another affirmation.
Okay. And how this is religion attract in your
peoples? Yes, in the ancient times, people not gives fire, not takes the fire with own. Just they take the fire from the after the earthquake or storms. Because fire is just a natural things, and they don't know how it takes a fire, where's the calm, how is possible, because fire useful for the cooking some meals or warming their house. It's difficult without fire. Their lives so difficult without fire. That's why people saw some natural fire and they believe it as a god, because fire is very easiest for their lives.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, very interesting answer, Refli. Okay, Mrs. Olivia, Mr. Massimo.
No, it's really interesting. I'm impressed because I didn't know anything at all. So when I was looking at the fire and the connection with Zoroastrianism, even with prehistoric beliefs in the area, are going to be exciting to show to the tourists. How is the tourist now at the moment in Adnana, apart from COVID? There is a local and international tourist coming to Adnana. Sorry for the pronunciation. I will learn.
Okay. Now you can see our tourists, but actually it's very sunny in here because Yanardağ is a semi-desert area. That's why in the morning and the afternoon we have a lot of tourists, because it's afternoon it's very sunny and warm. That's why between the 4 and 6 o'clock, and in the mornings among the 10 and 12 o'clock we have a lot of tourists, especially we a lot of tourists in the sacrifice days. 3 days we a lot of tourists for the pandemic. It's amazing.
Okay.
So it's attracting people, definitely. It's such a strange place that is attracting a lot of people.
Yes, attracts for people just not believe the Zoroastrianism. Because of that, I have to say that in the ancient times in our country area, people believe the Zoroastrianism. But 7th century, we all in our country area we accept the Islam. But now in India, in Iran and part of the Pakistan, there have people who believe the Zoroastrianism. If some approximately 1 million people who believe the Zoroastrianism, and before the pandemic, a lot of tourists from the India and Pakistan and also other countries. Because of that, like as a fire temple, actually in Iran and in India, they have fire temples too, like as a Ateşgah. And these all of the related to Zoroastrianism. Because of that, in our countries, Ateşgah built by some Indian seller who came the Silk Way, Silk Road. They used Silk Road, came here, they saw the natural gas, natural fire, and who believes in Zoroastrianism, they built a temple here.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. May I? Yes.
Yes, yes, of course.
I have two questions, only concerning business. Unfortunately, I'm not an historical nor an archaeologist, so my field is the business or the management. So I have two questions. The first is, you are a guide, right? You
Yes.
are, and but you are a private one or an employee from the center? How is, or shortly, how is organized your work?
Okay, actually, I'm working just 6 weeks. I am the guide of the Yanardağ reserves. We have a lot of guide here, and I am a guide in English and or Azerbaijani language. And we have Arabic and Russian guides too, who speak the Russian and Arabic language because of the most of the people who came here, tourists, speak the or English, Russian, or Arabic.
All right.
And yes.
But yes, this is your job. But what is our employment position? You are private as a guide, or you are an employee from an organization?
I'm employee for organization.
Ah, all right. The second question is concerning the religious side of the visit, because you spoke about the other countries in which there is
Yes.
the Zarathustra religion and so on. So there is an opportunity as it concerns the religious tourism, because it is a quite interesting activity. I mean,
Yes,
a quite interesting
actually,
attraction of people.
Actually, like as I said before, our most of the tourists from the Pakistan and India came to for the religions purpose. For just fire temple Ateşgah and the Yanardağ, they come to the only the religion purpose for the some natural fire. Natural fire.
Thank you. Last question.
Okay.
Aside the activity concerning the fire, and also there is some thermal activity or not?
Actually, in our, like I said, I'm sorry, I forgot about to say, our reserve area is 26 hectares. And in our area, we have a sulfur spring and one small mud volcanoes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, if whether let's our tourists who want to go the mud volcanoes, we just going there, walking more than 1 kilometer, and we saw there some mud volcanoes, and after mud volcanoes they have sulfur spring.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zeki. Okay, if you haven't any question, we can continue. Our last speaker will be from Shaki Reserve, Gafur Ramizli, and he will talk about the creation of reserve, its territory, monuments, type of crafts, protection of the reserves, architecture, and heritage. Please, Gafur.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gafur, I'm from Shaki, and I will show and present you about Karabakh National Architectural Reserve. So, we can begin. So, first, I want to share you with the map of the site and begin from the whole region. Shaki is a city in northwestern of Azerbaijan in the district of the same name. Shaki city and the district is one of the centers of the local and foreign tourism in Azerbaijan. The number of the Shaki population is about 70,000. Geographically and especially the city consists of two parts. First part is new one, and we will not talk about it. The second part is the oldest part of the city, which is alongside the Kuzhana River Valley and relatively perpendicular to the new area. The old part of the city surrounded by mountains and the Darmanut Canal, which divides the city into two parts, new parts and old parts. The entire old part of the town has been included in the World Heritage list with the buffer zone. On July 7, 2019, at the 43rd session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee in Baku, a decision was made to include the historical center of the Shaki in the World Heritage list with the nomination of the historic center of the Shaki with the Hans Palace. Historical, cultural, and natural heritage sites are the essential building blocks in the formation of urban identity and cultural memory. The cultural heritage, which consists of archaeological, cultural, social, economic, aesthetic values, transfers from the past to the present, established a connection between the past and the future. And the sense of belonging develops. Preserving the cultural heritage strengthens the common ties that hold in the inhabitants of the city together. So, next slide, I will talk about the Shaki Khan's Palace. Shaki Khan's Palace has a unique place among the architectural monuments of Shaki. This significant architectural monuments of the 18th century is famous for its elaborate architectural decoration, and it's a product of a synthesis of several applied art traditions of Azerbaijan. The Khan's Palace is a classic example of applying traditional construction principles widely reflected in the residential building of the area. The layout of the Khan's Palace and the decorative distribution of the main facade reflects the building's interior with its rooms and halls. The side windows of the central part of the facade are covered with a fretwork, a grid of wooden windows with geometric patterns and colored and opaque glass called shabeke. The combination of the colored fretwork windows and the mirrored stalactites are the portals and the ribbon patterns surrounding the rest of the wall surface are characteristic features of the decorative design of the Khan's Palace. The interior of the monument, decorated with wall paintings, is also of particular interest. The rooms and halls of both floors are decorated with wall paintings, bouquets of flowers such as roses and irises placed in vases, as well as fruit-bearing pomegranate trees and cypresses are found in the wall painting with floral motifs. Other wall paintings are of note are those depicting battle and hunting scenes. The wall paintings are planar in nature as pictures and drawings in the miniatures. They are two-dimensional and placed very tightly on the wall surface without depth. The decoration of the ceilings and the mantel pieces and the executive beauty of the fretwork panels filled with colored Venetian glass are also worth mentioning. Next slide about House of Shaki. The House of Shaki is the most magnificent example of the Shaki mentioned type residential house. It's also called emirate in our dialect. This monument is an indicator of the transition from a traditional Shaki residential house to a palace type of house, having all the features inherent in traditional house. rich interior decorative elements and paintings. The two-story buildings with a rectangular plan is similar to the palace-style buildings. Caravanserais. There were 5 caravanserais in Shaki, but now there are only 2. Only 2 are currently preserved: Upper Caravanserai and Lower Caravanserai. All caravanserai have a similar base facility. Each unit consists of 3 floors, is dedicated to a single visitor. The lower cooler floor is used to store the goods. The ground floor is dedicated to commercial negotiation, and the last floor is used as a dormitory. There is a stone staircase to connect first floor, while to get the second floor, there is a wooden staircase. The bazaars were located in the courts of the caravanserai and in the emerging areas around. The caravanserais were generally located in the main road. They presented a square plan with corners cut to improve the entrance to the structure. Mosques and minarets. Mosques and minarets are the part of the architectural ensemble of the historical site, mostly built in the 19th century, 18th and 19th century. Most of them are located in the main trade center, which shows that there were many visitors coming to the city who needed mosques to worship. Most of the mahalle have their minarets and mosques built with the same techniques. Among numerous quarter mosques, only a few have come down to the present completely preserved. The rest are almost destroyed. There are left 5 mosques and 2 minarets without a mosque in the historical town. Out of the 3 are functional and preserved. For example, in the first pictures, there's only minarets, but third picture, it's the Khan Mosque and Khan Cemetery. It's also restored now. Next type of buildings is houses. Houses are merchant houses. The period of the Russian invasion. For example, first house is Zulfkarov's house. Second and fourth is Dadanov's houses. For example, third, fifth, and seventh houses is Hüseyin Bey's, and there are more than there, but most of them needs restored and to build again because they were destroyed and they are unused. Next type of buildings is hammams. There are many bathhouses in Shaki. Out of 3 located in the historical area of the Shaki, which were built in the 19th century. Since Shaki has been the town of the craft and trade from olden times, along with many markets and caravan sheds, hammams and mosques were also built here. The majority of the shops were located along the central highway of the town, including 2 hammams, R1s, which is in the first pictures, and Abdusalam hammams. Their hammams, however, located in the Ganjal Mahalle. It's the second picture. The hammams of the Shaki all have a very similar traditional structure and take over the structure of the medieval period. Unlike traditional hammams of the East, dome halls don't protrude over the volume of the building. A pitched roofs covers them with tiled floors. And there is also special trees, which is called sun trees. First and second pictures is in front of Khan Palace, Shesh Khan Palace. They have over 500 years old. Third and fourth pictures is in front of Imam Ali Mosque. This pictures is in lower Karmansarayt, and this second pictures is in front of some mosque. And all the trees are protected by the reserve. And Mahallas. Mahalla is the largest urban element of a traditional Eastern medieval town pattern. The mahalla is divided into a large number of garden plots with residential buildings, which are the smaller elements of the traditional urban pattern. There are 28 mahallas in the city, but 9 of 28 9 of them are in the historical part of the city. But the boundaries and the number of the official administrative mahallas are somewhat differential from the historical established boundaries of the mahalla. The mahallas are mainly divided by large or medium streets. The size of the historical mahallas varies from 2 to 13 hectares. Himga is a small public space intersection of several roads, often at the border of the mahalla, where mahalla residents congregate. Some kimgas are located right in front of mahalla mosques, bathhouses, or springs. Kimgas have preserved its importance till today. It's a map of the mahallas, and it's a picture of some mahallas. There is also some special streets in the site area. This is whole streets, and this is some pictures of the streets. For example, first pictures is the biggest street, Akhundov Avenue, and 2 Karvansaray is located there, and the end of the street, Shesh Khan's Palace, is located there. And third pictures, right side of the pictures, Khoske Avenue is located there. There's also some craft sheets in reserve area. I choose 5 of them. First is fretwork. Fretwork is the small wooden and glass pieces which is get together and without glue and other something like that. And Shesh Khan's Palace and the house of Shesh Khan's or some other buildings windows is covered with shapegan. Metal craft. Metal craft is and pottery. Pottery things is used for everyday using, and also, for example, there's a mahalla that the water of the people come with pottery product, pottery tubes. This is agriculture. First pictures is Kelbacher, and last one is I forget it. Last craft shape is masonry. For example, first is old gate, and second pictures is new gate. It's a style of the masonry in site area. First pictures is wall painting. It's also used inside or outside of the building. Second pictures is minber. It's in mosque. And third is bukhara or mantelpiece. It's also used fireplace or air conditioning in summer. And it's a type of stalactites. First is simple, and second is with mirrors. And the conclusion, who attends in protection this area? First is State Tourism Agency. State Tourism Agency is a body established by the order of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan on some measures to improve public administration in the field of culture and tourism. The agency was established on April 20, 2018 as a result of restructuring the Ministry of Culture and Tourism as the Ministry of Culture of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the STA, State Tourism Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Second is Resort Management Center. It was established as a public legal entity under State Tourism Agency. Third is our reserve, Bukharbash National Historical Architectural Reserve. Fourth is Shaki Destination Management Organization. It's also their aims at achieving sustainable and continuous tourism development in Shaki-Zakrala region by awareness raising and promotional activities, organizing trainings, connecting the public sector with the private sector, and Destination Management Organization also manage local tourist information center. And last attendant is Executive Committee of the Shaki City. It's also rules the offshore problems or offshore documentations. And how it's protect? For example, we have protectors for each mahalla, and they check the area and give information about our heritage and style of the building, construction types, materials, and other something like that. And for example, this pictures is a current situation, and second pictures which we want to achieve in future. So that's it. Thanks for attention. Any question?
Thank you. Thank you, Gafur, for your presentation. And I have one question for you. You showed the Hans Cemetery. I see Hans Cemetery. And as I know, the Hans grave was opened.
Yes.
Sent for analysis to identify. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get results?
No, not yet, because the period of the analysis takes 6 months to 1 year, and there's and we have time, and we're also waiting for the results.
Okay, it's so interesting.
Yes.
So, okay, have you any question to Gafur? Okay, I think that we almost came to the end of our meeting. On conclusion, I want to say that today we discussed comparative review of petroglyphs in Caspian area, and at the same time we talked about the reserves which reflect part of the cultural heritage of the Caspian area. And I thank all of our participants, and I thank to our experts and speakers for their interesting speeches. You are great. And I think that this meeting was useful for everyone, and we received information about the cultural heritage of a certain part of the Caspian area. And our future meeting will continue in this tradition. So we plan to hold our next meeting in September. And this time we will discuss urban culture and of the antique, ancient and Middle Age in Caspian area. That's all I want to say. So I give turn to Mrs. Olivia if you have some addition.
Well, thank you, Gunnar, for inviting us and for showing us such a great number of sites, subjects, and possibilities to visit and also to exploit for tourism. So it's nice, and we are writing a list of the thematic which can be exploited in terms of cultural tourism, in terms of also of scientific approach, and also, as I said in last meeting to Farid, feel free to also to publish if you want, because within the project we can publish for you in open source what you want to publish. So PICASP wants to show to the rest of the world what Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Russia can offer in terms of cultural tourism. And also we are going to compare in future with other countries and with the kind of possibility. For instance, Farid was also speaking about the valorization and compare the Azerbaijan and Caspian results with what happened in the rest of the world, in the Mediterranean, in Egypt. So it will be nice to compare the situation and find common way to talk about these countries, which are very well known for all of you as we see, but for us it's a discovery every day. So it's important that the project is born to learn, for us to learn a bit more about your splendid antiquities. Thank you, Gunnar. Thank you, Farid, for your organization. Your has been a quite heavy thing to organize for you. So thank you very much. 2 meetings so close.
Thank you for your comment. And maybe Afifi Kanim, maybe you have some addition.
Yes, please. Afifi is a scholar from Egypt. So I'm going to invite him once when you organize a meeting to talk about Egypt, and he's working in Luxor. He's a great archaeologist and also in valorization. So he will be of some help in the project.
I join also compliments of Oliva with an additional, sorry to be boring, an additional recommendation for the project. The chairman, Gunel, please remember the report of the meeting, so each of us can remember the participants and topics. Second, more important, materials shown during the presentation. Please share these materials among participants. And the third, the quality assurance questionnaire.
Thank you.
Yes, Cristina is going
to will be in condition to tell you that everything was right. We agree very much.
Massimo, Cristina is going to write at the end to Gunel and to Farid to give the format for the report, and so don't worry, it will be fine. And also I will share with you, Gunel and Farid, the screenshot I've done, and you can use the photos of the screenshot during your report. Maybe Afifi was saying something, we were cutting him. Sorry, Afifi.
No, not at all. Thank you for all, and I was really exciting, and it was very interesting for me to listen to this lecture and this speaking about many things I first time to know about Azerbaijan culture, and I realized that all the humankind is just has one culture in the beginning, because most of the rock art which you show in your lecture, we have the same in Egypt in many mountains. We have many graffiti for all this kind of animals and the shape of humans, boats, like exactly like what you show in your lecture. So I think all the people in the beginning will just have one culture, and it changed by after that from country to other country according to the environmental and the style of the life in this country. But I think we all the humankind just have one culture in the beginning and one source for all. And it was really amazing for me to see everything you show in your lecture and how you take care of your heritage, your sites. I hope one day I can visit this site to enjoy this site. Uh,
Let's hope that PICASP can travel and we can bring you with us.
I hope that.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Afifi.
You're welcome.
Maybe our other guests, for example, Christopher Malik, I see here him, Maria Cristina, Daniel Mancini. Maybe they have some addition, maybe some comment.
Christopher Christina lost.
Yeah. Okay, Faris
Hi.
Okay, Maria Cristina.
Hi, sorry, I am in a archaeological dig, so I am using my phone to participate. It has been, as always, a beautiful meeting. Thank you for a beautiful land for prehistoric art. We are very, very happy to have seen so beautiful images. I am really
it's difficult from excavation to communicate such a huge quantity of things. Also the architecture, last speaker, the architecture was fantastic. And I really I think Massimo will appreciate the different kind of approaches. The caravanserai is a very important subject for the project. The routes, the commercial routes as well, but also the architecture. So maybe we can choose subjects and try to see the countries through different thematics, topics and different approaches. Will be nice.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Maria Cristina. And we appreciate all of your opinions, all of your comments. And Faris Khalili, if you want to say something on the end.
I thank for all participants, and I think this meeting have many knowledge about Azerbaijan, and not only Azerbaijan, also in about Russia and other
Kazakhstan. Yeah, you're right. If you can, Farid and Gunal, send the recording to Massimo, who can look and have an idea what is there, and also to us. And then Massimo, I was saying that probably it's fine if they send the record to you, the record of the meeting, which is good to have the list of the topics.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
But it's fundamental also the written report in which all topics are synthesized, summarized, so it is easier to have some practical information.
We put this record to our Miras YouTube channel.
Scusami, adesso ti passo la
Good,
Gabriele.
good, good. This is very good. Just send the link of YouTube if you want.
Last meeting also have in YouTube, and people have possibility to after look and maybe some.
Fantastic. So please send the links of YouTube channel of the two film, and we can put it also in the website of the project. Will be good. Will be useful.
Good.
Definitely, we will send. Okay, and Christopher Narlock wants to say something.
Okay.
Hi everybody. I hope to. I'm here. I'm also in the excavation with my phone. I will thank you for your fantastic presentation, and I'm quite shocked how many beautiful places you are in your countries, and I'm dying to go there and visit it in person. So that's all. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you, Christopher. Okay, that's all. Thank all of you for your participation and for opinion, for your suggestion, for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Guna.
Bye.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.